Hello and welcome to Bookish avec moi. And this week, I'm gonna talk about books. I'm really bad with introduction, so yeah, I'm gonna jump straight into what I really want to talk about in this video, which is about books. Anyway, first of all, I'm gonna talk about stuff that I have finished, which in this past week I'm happy to report that I have some books finished. And then I'll also be talking about books that I'm currently reading right now, and also additionally some pile of possibilities, which, you know, when I get to that later, it's not going to be like really exciting, because those are like the books that I have started reading a while ago, but then I kind of set them aside for a short time. But anyway, yeah, let's start with the books that I have finished. First of all, I have finished this book by Uhlman. This is called Reunion. So this book was written by Uhlman, and and I'm happy to say that this was one of the books that I was able to finish very quickly. I finished reading this book in just one day, 2 sittings nonetheless, but still one day, and so that was fairly quick. But then again, it's a really tiny book. It's essentially a novella. So what is Reunion about? So Reunion is about these 2 characters who are friends with one another. The main character is also the narrator. His name is Hans, and he is the son of a Jewish doctor. So this story takes place sometime after World War I in Stuttgart in Germany. So we follow Hans as he meets with this another boy, same age as him, about 16. His name is Konradin, and Konradin is actually a boy from a German aristocratic family. So he's Christian, and they sort of have this different background in terms of their ethnicity and also religious beliefs as well. So, but somehow they just turn into very good friends. And in fact, friendship is like a really big thing in this novel. Their friendship in this novel is so passionate, and it's so fervent that you could totally feel the fire coming out of this book. That is how passionate the friendship is. It's almost like reading a relationship that is traditionally written, the kind of passion that writers usually reserve for lovers and romantic relationships. It's just really strong. It's really fun to read. But of course, this book is not a fun and happy read, because this book takes place sometime at the era during the dawn of Nazi period. So of course, considering who are our main characters, we know how their friendship is probably going to fare. What I find really lovely about this, aside from the passion of the friendship, is also how this book concludes. There is another thing that is very common in this book, which is the theme of doubts and suspicion. Doubts and suspicion, especially between people in a relationship, or in this case, a friendship. It is something that the narrator seems to be kind of like a trap that the narrator seems to be falling into in regards to his friend. And somehow that is sort of answered in the ending, and I think that ending is so well done. It's kind of sad, but it was really powerful. It's just like a big punch, a big punch to the emotion. So yeah, if you are interested in reading a short book about a really passionate friendship, and also a little bit of war fiction element in it as well, do try this one. This is really great. I love it so much. Next, I finally finished this one, finally, after 3 months, I think. This is The Man with the Compound Eyes by Taiwanese author Ming-Yi, and it was translated from the Chinese into English by Darryl Sterk. Okay, so this book, I must say that I didn't really like it very much. So essentially, this book actually starts out with two different narratives. The first narrative is about this woman who lives in Taiwan, who just lost her husband and also her child, and she is contemplating suicide. Her name is Alice. And the second narrative involves this boy from a sort of a mythical indigenous tribe somewhere in an island, who lives in an island at the Atlantic Ocean. Oh no, not the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean. Why? They live in on the island somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, and then because of one of the rituals that they have in that tribe, basically every second-born son is kind of like sacrificed to the sea. So this boy happens to be the second-born son, and as per the ritual, he goes off into the sea with just a boat, and he's just pretty much sacrificed that way. And this son, his name Attile, he ends up on a trash island. Although because of their isolation, they are not really familiar with modern things. When Attile ends up on a trash island, he does not know that it's actually a trash island. The way he sees it is just that is a regular island. But then that trash island is kind of floating in the ocean, and it is making its way towards Taiwan. And as you can expect, that is how the narratives of Alice and Attile are going to converge later, when the trash island actually collides into the shore on the island of Taiwan, near where Alice is living. So in this book, the strong theme of environmentalism is just so on the nose. I mean, I like books about environment, I like books about nature, but what I don't really like is when books push forward a certain agenda that they have in ways that are kind of clunky and just way too heavy-handed. I feel like the themes of environmentalism in this book, it's not really blended well into this kind of, I would say honestly, fairly decent, nice urban fantasy story with elements of magical realism thrown in it. I just find that the way that the author includes the bits about how people is destroying, are destroying nature, and how nature is reacting to all kinds of human activities, they are not really written very gracefully in this book. And I felt like I was reading a non-fiction book with some random story with fictional characters thrown in, and it just made the story as a whole, the flow of the story, feels very stifled. And overall, I wouldn't say that this book is has a really organic flow to it. It's just kind of weird. It feels very clumsy. And overall, I didn't enjoy reading this book. I felt kind of tired reading it because every time I got to the point where the author wants to describe certain things about humans' destruction of nature, and also when the author wants to write about anything that is nature related, suddenly I feel like I'm being yanked away from the main story, and I was forced to just listen to the author giving out tracts on what's the issue with the environment these days, and it gets really, really tiring. So I gave this one 1.5 stars out of 5, kind of rounded up into 2 stars, but overall it was just not really a fun book to read. So that's it for all of the books that I have finished in the past week. Now I'm gonna move on to books that I'm currently reading right now. Well, actually, compared to the previous list of my currently reading books that I'm currently reading, I have some new books because during this period in which I kind of experienced this low reading mood, I was somewhat bedazzled by new books. So the first book that I became interested in reading was a small book, and this is The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie by Muriel Spark. This book is about this teacher called Jean Brodie, Miss Jean Brodie in the title. And the story takes place in Edinburgh in the 1930s. And what happens is that Miss Jean Brodie she has 6 pupils under her wings. And what's special about Miss Jean Brodie is that she has a very unorthodox way of teaching her pupils. And the way that she kind of teaches the pupils does not really, does not really jive well with the rest of the teachers, especially the head teacher at the school where she is working at. So she does have some beef with the head teacher, and they kind of want her to resign. But Miss Jean Brodie insists on staying in order to teach these pupils. And over time, these pupils kind of become her confidants, to whom Miss Jean Brodie would kind of tell them her personal life stories. But eventually, I think there will be kind of like a betrayal scene. I don't think that's a spoiler, because I think that's kind of like the climax of this book. And well, I have not gotten into that point, so obviously it's not a spoiler. But I think that's kind of like what I'm looking forward to in this book, how this betrayal is going to unveil later in this book. So I find that so far the writing is pretty nice. I really like the use of flash forward in this book. It kind of makes it feels like a TV show, kind of makes it feel like really interesting, this jump in timelines. I kind of love that. And also the character of Miss Jean Brodie, she is very snarky, and I don't think that you would be very happy. I mean, I won't be like really excited to hang out with her, but seeing her as a character in this book, just it does make me feel like I'm having fun reading her story. So she's just kind of like funny in this book. So since this one is a small book, of course I think I will finish it, and I'm excited to see whether I'll be able to finish it this week. Another book that I started a while ago, just very recently actually, is A Single Man by Christopher Isherwood. So this one is actually, this one was supposed to be my June Pride Month reading TBR, but then again, I delayed it, and I just started reading this book, and so far it's kind of nice. So this book is about this English professor who lives in California. The story takes place sometime in the 60s, and this English professor, his name is George, he just lost his boyfriend. So his boyfriend just died, and he's feeling really sad, really empty, and really cynical in this book. And this book is going to take place over the span of one day. So I'm not sure how this book will, how the story will progress, But I'm really excited to see how that goes. And since this one is a fairly small book, you know what? I think I probably am able to finish it maybe this week or next week if I don't lose the interest. Next one, I am kind of returning to this book. I started reading it a while ago, but then I kind of paused for a while. And this is Home Fire by Kamila Shamsie, which is kind of like a retelling, a modern retelling of Sophocles' Antigone. And the story takes place in modern Britain, with the main characters being the family members of a Muslim family. Next one is one of the books that I would like to read for women in translation. So this one is by Đường Hương, and this one is called Novel Without a Name, which is a war fiction. So this book was originally written in Vietnamese, and it was translated by Phan and Nina McPherson. So this book is about this soldier who is fighting in the Vietnam War, I think, and his name is Quan. So basically, Quan is fighting in the war, and then one day he kind of receives an offer from his friend, who happens to be a higher ranking soldier, and basically that allows him to kind of take a short leave from the war, from fighting, and going back to his village, where he kind of, this higher ranking soldier friend wants him to go back to the village to attend to something that relates to their mutual friend in the village. And it is kind of like over there that he realizes that how this war has really changed things, like really shaped things up for the people around him, his community, his society, and all that. So last but not least, the book that I'm kind of actively reading right now is this one by Tash, The Harmony Silk Factory, which is a historical fiction. Tash is a Malaysian author, and one of the kind of like unofficial reading plan that I have for August and September is to read more Malaysian authors, because August and September are kind of basically Malaysian months, August being the month of the Malaya's Independence Day, and also September would be the month of Malaysia Day. So I'm interested to read more Malaysian written books. So this is like the first in my Malaysian TBR. So the Harmony Silk Factory, it's kind of about a textile merchant whose name is Johnny, and his relationship with a woman named Snow. So I'm not sure how this story is going to unfold. It is kind of vague based on the synopsis at the back. I'm not exactly sure if there is something that is kind of big going to happen in here. It just pretty much says how they spend their honeymoon on an island, and then accompanied by some people. And then over the years, I think the book actually started with the son of this guy, Johnny, trying to uncover what really happens in Johnny's past. So I'm gonna give this a try and see if it works or not. Now, finally, for sort of like piles of possibilities, I'm going back to some of the books that I started a few weeks ago, but then I kind of just set aside. So one of the books that I would probably read this week, resume reading this week, is Justine by Marquis de Sade. But this one is probably not really high up on the list. The probability of me resuming this book this week is, I don't know, probably at about 30%, because I don't really feel much interest in this plot yet. So it's kind of about the exploits of a woman in a I can't really remember what is the in the 18th century in the 18th century French society. So it's kind of like about the exploits of a young woman in that society who happens to be poor, but somehow because of that living condition, she engages in some rather unsavory acts, at least based on what the society thinks of that, of those things at that time. Next, I will probably resume reading this book. This is Tipping the Velvet by Sarah Waters, which is sort of like a coming-of-age story about this girl, an oyster girl named Nan, who meets with a male impersonator, and they kind of starts a relationship. But I don't think that that's the penultimate event in this book. There are more things that happens after that, I think. So kind of interested in continuing this one again. And last but not least, I have this book by Patchett. This is Bel Canto. I think I was kind of engaged with this book when I first started it, but then somehow I just drifted away because of reasons, not because of this book. So I feel that I would like to continue again reading this book, and I don't know, maybe it will hook me again. Hopefully. So those are my bookish updates for this past week, and I guess that's it for this video, and I'll see you again in a different one. So until then, take care, thanks for watching, and bye bye.